Hello, and thank you for joining the webinar about how to detect undetectable AI. I'm Garrett, head of product at Plagiarism Check and at our new tool Integrito. Since 2015, our team has been working on solutions to protect academic integrity. That's why it is very important for us to deliver the best tools to save teachers' time and help students to succeed academically. We understood the challenges created by ChatGPT and other AI generators and the downsides of AI detectors that fail to detect AI accurately. Our team started working on a totally new approach to catching all kinds of cheating techniques that exist now and techniques that are not available now but will be available in the future. In this webinar, I'll briefly highlight the challenges ChatGPT created for education, explain why existing solutions do not solve them 100%, and present a new tool that is capable in detecting AI that is not detected by existing solutions. The presentation itself contains only 6 slides. After it, I will show you a quick demo of how our tool Integrito works to detect undetectable AI, and then we will have a Q&A session where I will be happy to answer your questions and hear your suggestions about how this tool can be improved to make it even more convenient and helpful. Even before ChatGPT, students actively employed cheating backdoors that help them to submit assignments without actually completing them. Those backdoors were successfully fixed by plagiarism checkers. However, ChatGPT created a totally new dimension where an existing approach to defining text originality doesn't work. Even though AI detectors have accuracy over 90%, they still have quite significant percentage of false positives when a human written text is claimed to be AI generated. It has a lot of unpleasant consequences to students. But even accuracy over 90% means that there is some percentage that is lower than 10 when AI detectors fail to identify AI-generated text. That allows students to get away with this assignment, get a grade they do not deserve, and get a diploma they do not deserve. Also, AI detectors evolve, and they come closer and closer to generating texts that have all attributes of human written texts. That creates a danger that the false positive will increase significantly as AI generated text and human written text will have the same patterns. So from AI detector perspective, it will be almost impossible to define if the text is AI generated or human written with a good enough accuracy, of course. We see that this situation led to 4 main problems for education. The first problem is if AI detector does not recognize AI-generated text. Even if we talk about the accuracy over 90%, we still have some percentage of cases when AI detectors fail to recognize AI-generated text. AI generators become smarter and generate text very close to human-written text. And if we train AI detectors on such texts, but tell them that these texts should be recognized as AI generated, this AI detector will recognize more human text as AI generated because it was told that the texts that have these patterns are AI generated. In this way, if an AI detector receives a human written text that has these patterns, it was told that they are typical for AI generated text, it will flag this text as AI generated. That leads us to another problem that AI detector has huge false positive results and flags more and more human written text as AI generated. Another problem is that students know that they're being watched. That's why they try to outsmart the solutions that analyze their submissions. They use so-called humanizers. Students generate text in ChatGPT, insert this text in a humanizer, and the humanizer makes this text sound more like human written. It basically substitutes some wordings to make them more random from a statistical point of view, which is typical for human writing. When the text, after being humanized, is submitted to an AI detector analyzes the patterns from this text. And if these patterns match human written text, then it will say that this text was human written. And the problem is that an AI detector does not know how this text was actually created because we do not observe the process of how this text was created. Detectors receive it only at its final stage and just analyze it for patterns. And if AI detectors had to identify this text as AI generated, they would also identify the majority of human written text as AI generated. Because for AI perspective, those texts have the same patterns. And if we teach our AI detector that those patterns are typical for AI generated text, then it will flag all text with these patterns as AI generated. And the fourth problem is the communication. How to communicate to a student the results that you see in an AI detector, or how a student can prove that he or she wrote a paper even though an AI detector shows that this paper is AI generated. Knowing these challenges, we employed a totally new approach that analyzes how the text was written instead of working with its final submitted version. This approach allows us to fix all existing ways to cheat in assignments. Even more, the further versions of this tool will fix even future attempts how students will try to cheat, because we know that students will come up with some ways how to outsmart this tool, and we are ready to this. At the end of the day, that threshold to cheating in assignments will be so high that it will be easier to write this assignment from scratch instead of trying to cheat. A few words about how this solution works. We analyze the writing history of the document. So we analyze how it was written. It allows us to confirm authorship. So we know that this document was written by a person who submitted it. It allows us to confirm originality. We know that there is no plagiarism in this document. And it also helps us to confirm authenticity when we know that there was no AI generator involved in this text. Currently, this tool is available as an extension for Chrome browser and for Mozilla Firefox browser, and works only with Google Docs. We will scale it soon to Edge and Safari browsers, and it will be available for Word and Office 365. We are gathering feedback on how this tool benefits students and teachers, and it is very important to receive this feedback from you as well, as it will help us to understand if we are on the right track in presenting the data we analyze. And we are looking forward to your feedback to understand how to make this tool to help you to make a decision faster and be more confident in it than with existing solutions. Now let's see how this tool works. We are in a Google Doc. We have some text written in this document, and there is a button that launches a report by our tool Integrito. Once we click on it, we see some data. In this report, we see that there were 27 sessions in this text, which is pretty reasonable. The total editing time was almost 22 minutes. Which is also quite reasonable for the final text of 200 words. But if we take a look at this dashboard, and it shows you every session and the number of words in every session. The blue dots are numbers of words, and the green dots are a session. We see that in the first session, this document received 520 words. There is no writing history before this happened, so these 520 words were pasted from somewhere. It creates the first suspicious event. So we know that this text was not written in this document. So we can see this text that was inserted in that session. Below this dashboard, we see every session. There is an option to open this session and compare it to the final version of this document. We are looking for the first session. It is at the bottom. And on the left side, we see the text that was pasted in that first version of this document. If we try to compare it to the final version, we see that the text that was pasted in the first version was not used in the final version. They are totally different. It may happen when a student inserts some text for inspiration, but at the end of the day, this text is not used as a part of the final submission. The event that looked suspicious on the dashboard is not the case of cheating in this text. Let's see what happened next. Then some part was added again. So some text was pasted, not written. And then the whole text was deleted. So the number of words dropped to 0 words in this document. And then 207 words were added again as pasted text, not the written text in this document. And then after small modifications, 217 words were submitted. The same text that was inserted here with small changes was submitted in the final version of this text. Here we can see that there was no writing process in this document. All the text was inserted from somewhere. Here is another text in Google Docs. Let's see what our activity reports say about it. Here we have 18 sessions. That is a lower number than 27 that we had in the previous document. But the total editing time is 2 hours, which is a pretty significant amount of time. And if we take a look at the final version of this text, we see that it contains almost 1,000 words. So it is pretty reasonable time for writing a text, 1,000 words. And if you take a look at this dashboard, we see that it is totally different from the previous one, because we do not have such spikes as we had in the previous documents. We do not see suspicious events like pasted text. What we see here, the number of words is gradually growing from one session to another. This is how the process of writing should look like. Basically, you can hover over any of these blue dots and you will see how the number of words grows. So this text was written in this document from scratch. We see all the contribution. In this case, it doesn't make sense to compare these versions, only if you would like to identify some areas for improvement and give feedback to a student. What makes sense to check here is writing sessions. This tab shows all contributors who participated in the writing process in this document. Despite you may see here the writing is completed gradually, it may be not completed by a person who was supposed to write this text. And you can see this here when we show all users who contributed to this text. In my case, this document was written by a person who was expected to write it. And I see every writing session. I see how many changes there were in this session, the duration of this session. However, it may happen that here on the list of contributors, you will see that the main contribution was done not by a student you expected this contribution from. It can happen if a student invited someone to this document and this someone wrote some text or the whole text for this assignment, and then this student just submitted this text as his or her own work. A student who submitted a paper did not participate to the required extent in writing this paper. There is also an option to share this report with someone. You can share it with a student or with another teacher or with any other person. To share this report, you just need to click the button here and specify the email of the person you want to share this report with and click confirm. The person whose email you specified will receive an email notification that someone shared with you an activity report. You need to log in and this person will get access to the same report. You can find the link to installing our extension in the email after this webinar or under the video on YouTube. The link will lead you to a page like this. And here you will see a button that says install. Once you install this extension in your browser, you can launch it from your extensions panel. Once you install this extension in your browser, you can open a Google Doc where you would like to launch the activity report. Just make sure that you have the editor access to this Google Doc and you have this editor access to the same email you use as your main account in your Chrome browser. It is important. If you have access to a different account, this button will not show up. So in order to this button to show up after you installed our Chrome extension, you need to have the editor access to a Google Doc where you want this button to show up. And this editor access should be shared with the same email you use as your email in Chrome browser. I will be happy to answer your questions. Let's see what we have in our Q&A. Is the webinar being recorded? Yes, the webinar is recorded and we will publish it on YouTube. And everyone who attends this webinar will receive the recording as well. So you can share it with other teachers or you can watch it again. Another question is it free to use or paid for? Activity reports in our Integrito extension is totally free to use. So you can install Integrito extension absolutely for free and use activity reports also absolutely for free. How should we share those suggestions, if we have any, after we have tried it? We would love you to try Integrito and we are really looking forward to your feedback as it is really helpful, and only together with teachers we can design the tools that really make impact to protect academic integrity and help you to work with students' assignments faster and to be more confident in who wrote these assignments. So you can provide suggestions by contacting us at support@plagiarismcheck.org, or you can reply directly to an invitation that you received for this webinar. It contains my email, and I will receive your suggestions or any thoughts you would like to share. So I will be really looking forward to receiving them. Are there any privacy concerns? The way how Integrito activity reports work is covered by privacy policy and terms and conditions of plagiarismcheck.org. You can find those documents on plagiarismcheck.org website. We take it very seriously, and all the data is securely stored in our system. Can you remind of which browsers this program works with? This tool works with Chrome browser and Firefox browser. Very soon we will have it for Edge, and a little bit later for Safari. Thank you very much for participating in our webinars. We will be looking forward to your feedback about this tool after you have a moment to try how Integrito activity reports work for your student submissions.